Welcome to the game. Squid Game has been a global sensation since its release in 2021. Known for its memorable moments, unforgettable visuals, and of course meme-worthy moments featuring Jihan, also known as Player 456. I will be telling this story like a narrative, so if you like this video, definitely give a like and a comment to let me know you'd like to see more of this style of content. There will be spoilers from Season 2 and Season 3, so please click off this video if you do not want to hear these spoilers. You've been warned. Now that we've got all the disclaimers out the way, today I'll be creating an original Squid Game character using a randomized Wheel of Fate. This idea is inspired by some creators on TikTok. Will our characters survive until the end, or meet a tragic, unforgettable fate? From her looks to her personality and decisions, everything is left to chance. So grab your green tracksuits and let's jump into the game. Before our character ever crossed paths with the salesman, before the game, the slap, the call, I wanted to understand who she was, her life, her looks, and how she ended up being so desperate to risk it all. Let's spin the wheel and see what fate has in store. As the wheel spun, it's decided that our character is Korean, with fair skin, warm brown eyes, and what really draws the attention isn't her eyes. It's her hair, dyed, bright, and unnatural. The kind of colour that turns heads in a crowded street. People notice her. Some whispered, some stared. To them, she might look like a rebel, a delinquent, trouble waiting to start. But in reality, she's just a human trying to be herself in a town that only sees colours and assumes trouble. Now that we know what she looks like visually, it's time to look a little deeper into her life before the game. To figure out her past chapters, I've spun a wheel and decided how many jobs she's had previously. Her story begins with dance. Raised by a single mother in a modest apartment along with a younger sister. In their family, dance wasn't just a hobby, it was their legacy. Her mother had been a dancer, earning a decent portion of cash to survive in society. Her sister following suit, graceful, poised and elegant, but Yuna never fit into that mold. While her family studied more dances like ballet and more traditional moves, Yuna learned K-pop choreographies, being more sharp and expressive, but also slightly clumsy. Her style was bold. Too bold for the classical stages that her mother dreamed of. The pressure to conform was constant, but she knew this was for her. Her passion clear as day. At 15, she got her first official job, a janitor position at a local mall, underpaid, overworked, invisible. While other teenagers her age scrolled through social media or hung out after school, she was scrubbing floors and dumping trash to save for her future. She dreamed of escaping, getting into university, building a life for herself, but her life at home had other plans. Her mother took most of what she earned, claiming it was for the family. And every time she got close to freedom, it felt like someone moved their finish line further away. By 18, her relationship with dance didn't die at all, just fading, slowly and painfully, with every harsh word and disappointing glance from her mother. In a family where dance is so sacred, she was the one who stepped out of rhythm. Her mother, clinging tightly to the family's legacy, never held back her disappointment. "You're wasting potential." Words meant to push her forward only wore her down. Over time, what once brought her joy became a harsh weight to carry. The studio she was practically raised in no longer felt like a place to express herself, but a stage where she constantly failed to meet expectations. So she let it go. Not out of rebellion, but exhaustion. But while she let go of her own dreams, she made sure her sister never had to. She poured everything into her, encouraged her, cheering from the sidelines, even learning to make costumes by hand when their mother forgot to. And that's where their bond shifted, from sisters to something more complex. She became the mother figure their real mother no longer was. By 20, their mum was barely there, always working late or travelling abroad for gigs that never seemed to bring anything back home. Excuses came through text, calls were rushed, apologies were empty. So Yuna picked up the slack. Her sister was 10 years younger, she knew she had to set a better example than she ever had. Packing lunches, helping with homework, attending parent-teacher conferences, all while working night shifts pretending she was fine. She didn't get the chance to be a teenager. She didn't get to fail safely. She became a caregiver, not by choice, but by necessity. And still, her mother expected more. More grace, more success, more sacrifice, but never offered to help in return. Despite all of it, she finally made it into university at 22 studying business and management, but by then, another side of her life was taking off. Online. Her TikTok account had started to grow and fast, from showing off outfits she had designed for her sister to appearances that changed within the short time frame. She ended up pulling in more sponsorships than any job she's ever worked by 23. So, she dropped out of university, finally free, or so she thought. I've decided to name our character Shu-una, but she doesn't go by that, not anymore. After building the following, she started to go by Yuna, a name she gave herself, a name that gave her hope, a creation that was meant to set her up for life. Her looks raised eyebrows, her face is what people may class as rebelling. Multiple piercings line her ears, the dahlia, snake bites, and angel fangs filling out her lips, but just under the left eye sat an anti-eyebrow piercing. Nothing extreme, but enough to make strangers stare, and elderly to whisper under their breath. Her hair, jet black and streaks of hot pink, styled into a ponytail with a raccoon tail on her strands, a callback to the classic scene aesthetic from the early 2000s. The look was a way for her to become more confident, a reminder that she no longer needs anyone's approval, not from her mother, not from strangers, nobody. In a city where everyone wants to blend in, she'd make sure you remembered her face. The rise was meant to last, enough for her to continue to grow and be successful, but despite how hard she worked, her mother decided to punish her once more, making comments and false rumours, soon being picked up by commentators and news sources. She was, in quotes, cancelled. Not for anything criminal, but for the jealousy her mother had held against her, due to her rebelling and not fitting her standards, for not being the person people wanted her to be. Brand deals vanished, so did followers, and just like that, the illusion of success crumbled. She was broke, dropped out, and once again, invisible. After everything, the online fallout, dropping classes, and constant arguments, the final blow came when her mother kicked her out. No money, no warning, just a bag at the door and the cold silence of someone who had given up on her. What hurt her most, though, wasn't being kicked out. It was being cut off from her sister, the one person who still looked at her like she mattered. With nowhere else to go, she packed up what little she had left the city she'd ever known. Nameless, grey, unfamiliar, a place where nobody knew her. She ended up being able to find a small apartment, though it was barely livable, cramped and run down, where the sink coughed more than it poured, and the walls felt thinner than paper. It was cheap, and for someone who'd lost everything, cheap was enough. She found full-time work at a local distribution center. Long hours, low pay, aching feet, every day blurring into the next. Wake up, commute, work, collapse, repeat. Then one day, like it was meant to be, she met him, a man in a suit, sitting alone in the station, holding a briefcase and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He offered her a simple game. Slap the tile, flip the other, win money. She thought it was a prank or a scam at first, but the money was real. She saw it, she felt it, and needed it. So she played. Her tiles flipped, she won. Again, a clear victory. Another flip, her confidence soared. She only lost once, and even then, the sting of the slap barely registered over the rush of adrenaline. When the game ended, he handed her a card, simple and cold. A phone number, a symbol.
Call if you're interested in making more,
he said, and then vanished like he was never there to begin with. That night she stared at the card, the weight of life pressing down, rent overdue, her sister slipping away, no safety net, no backup plan, and still quite young. It seemed easy enough, a few games, a little risk, and a big reward. She called, but what she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that nothing about it would be easy. This wasn't a game built to be won, this was a game built to break you. Waiting where the voices told her to, an empty roadside, nothing but abandoned buildings flickering streetlights in silence. A van pulled up, the only words exchanged were password and red light, green light. The doors sliding open, and without hesitation she climbed inside. She didn't expect comfort, but she also didn't expect what came next. The last thing she remembered was a faint smell of fumes, and then nothing. Upon waking up in a hard bunk surrounded by rows of beds, a huge room filled with strangers dressed like her, she sat up, confused and groggy. Something felt wrong. The walls too bare and the lights too bright. Then she looked down. Her clothes weren't hers anymore. She was wearing a green tracksuit numbered 416. Others looked scared, angry, confused, but most were just stunned, and like her, they all wore numbers, identities reduced to nothing but numbers.
Welcome, players. The prize for winning all 6 games is 45.6 billion won.
The room fell silent. This was enough to start a new life. How could anyone say no? Yuna definitely didn't, but she also wasn't naive. She knew there was a cost. But in that moment, she finally felt like she had a real chance, and she wasn't gonna let this slip away. But in a game like this, everyone had a role. So it's time to find out what kind of player Yuna would be. Main cast or side role, she ended up being a main cast. Her strength was 4 out of 5 due to years of physical labor and dancing training. She was very capable of holding her own. Her stealth, a 5 out of 5, being able to move around unnoticed despite her bright hair. And finally, her agility wasn't the fastest. Her movements are controlled and deliberate, but not built for sprinting or speed games. She wasn't the fastest, not even close. But in a game like this, speed isn't everything. She was smart, cautious, and quietly dangerous. The kind of person who doesn't show her potential until it's too late for anyone else to react. Heading to the first game, one player recognized her, maybe from TikTok, maybe from university, she wasn't sure, until she called out her name, her real one,
Yuna,
causing Yuna to freeze, then smiling polite and friendly and distant. "Most people call me Yuna now," she said gently, brushing it off like nothing, looking down at player 095. Then back to her face as she pondered. Her thoughts raced. Familiarity was a weakness in a game like this. Connections could be risky, but where did she know her from? Upon entering the open room, the moment everyone had been dreading began. Red light, green light. Players laughed, others reminisced about their childhoods, but Yuna didn't react. The rules were simple. The setting surreal, a painted sky, a massive robot doll, a cheery voice announcing the game. It looked like a joke, until the first body hit the ground. The moment she heard the first gunshot, her instincts kicked in. She didn't look, she didn't react, she just focused. One step at a time, breathe, hold still, move when it's safe. She treated it like a dance, just slower, crueler, and far more deadly. People around her panicked, ran, tripped, cried, but she knew better than to let fear control her movement. While others wasted precious seconds darting forward or hesitating with doubt, Yuna moved with precision, deliberate, focused, eyes locked forward, mind locked down. She passed the finishing line with little time to spare, and just like that, Yuna, player 416, had survived her first game. But as she turned around and saw how many people hadn't, she realized this wasn't about strategy or patience. This was war dressed up like a playground. After the first game, the players who were back at the sleeping quarters were silent, allowing them to hear the light hum above. Yuna sat on her bed, her legs hanging over the edges as she stared at a spot. Her mind was spinning. She had survived, but the images, the sounds, the screams, they clung to her skin like cold sweat. No one in that room spoke. Not really. No one had the words. Everyone was staring into space, shocked, grieving, and most of all, afraid. Even Yuna, so often composed, felt the crushing isolation creep in. Until...
Yuna.
She turned, eyes narrowing, heart skipping. It was the voice again. The same player, 095, stood shaking, looking up at her. That's when Yuna realized. Young me? They had worked together back when Yuna was just 16, scrubbing floor as a part-time janitor. Young me had been a worker, maybe even the closest thing to a friend back then. Quiet, dependable, The type who remembered your birthday even if she didn't say much. Their reunion should have been comforting. But here, in this place, when the option to leave the game was suddenly presented, the room trembled with hope. Could they really just go? Yuna didn't want to stay. Who in their right mind would? But the final vote was tallied. The majority chose to remain. The second game was nothing like the first. It required teams of 5 locked together, bound by the ankles and wrists. Their fates now connected. She ended up finding herself in a team with player 380 called Semi. Surprisingly, they clicked well. In the group, it wasn't just Semi who took notice of Yuna. Player 230, nicknamed Thanos, had started paying attention. Not because of anything she said, but because of how she carried herself. Composed, quiet, but always watching. And yes, there was something about her appearance. The black pink streaked hair, the piercings, her calm confidence. It made her stand out in a sea of fear and chaos. Pretty, yes, but more than that? Mysterious. Dachi, a simple challenge that turned her life upside down. She had played it like it was just another test, but it wasn't. It was the first move in a much larger game, one that she had no choice but to finish. After surviving another deadly game, Yuna could only think about Youngmi. Knowing she had passed, and wanting to let her know she was alive, the brief reunion made her want to catch up, to cling to the person she once knew outside the game. But as she tried to slip away from the new crowd, she didn't get far. Thano moved like he owned the floor, blocking her path, standing there, eyes locked on like he was trying to solve a puzzle. He spoke up.
You don't talk much?
Continuing.
You always this calm?
Yuna, not knowing what to say, responded, but trying to keep her voice steady. Only when I'm being watched. But he didn't laugh. He didn't blink. He studied her. Not with cruelty, but with unsettling intensity. Like she was a mystery he had to crack.
What is your real name?
He asked, but she didn't answer, just looked past him. Calm on the outside, but ready to run on the inside. Eventually, he stepped aside, not because he was finished, but because she had passed whatever invisible test he was giving her. Later that day, another chance came. The option to leave. Yuna voted leave, her hand shaking slightly as it hovered over the button. But once again, the majority voted stay, trapped once more in a game that was no longer shocking, just inevitable. Yuna managed to find Youngmi again. This time, the reunion wasn't rushed. They spoke softly, tucked into the corner of the room like two kids hiding from the world. It was a small comfort, something human in a place designed to crush it. That's when she met player 120, Hyunju. She was one of the first few people who could make Yuna laugh without trying. They clicked almost instantly, not in a loud, obvious way, but something quieter, a natural rhythm, to say. Shortly after, she met player 149 and her young son, player 007. A mother, yes, but not just to him, to everyone. She had this calm energy, the kind of warmth that somehow survived the cold brutality of the games. What surprised Yuna the most wasn't her kindness, it was how freely she gave it to even someone like her. When player 149 complimented her piercings, Yuna didn't know how to respond at first. She wasn't used to mothers being kind, let alone approving. But she liked it. More than she expected. That night, she went to the toilet with player 149, a safety in numbers kind of situation, and that's where she met player 222, a quiet girl around her age. Finding out she was pregnant, this girl had a life growing inside of her. And she was trapped in the same nightmare as the rest of them. Yuna didn't say anything right away, but something in her shifted. She had spent so long trying to survive for herself. Now, for the first time, she felt like maybe she wanted to survive for someone else too. She missed her little sister, and knew she had to get home one way or another. With fewer players left standing, the stakes higher than ever, Yuna may have survived red light, green light, but Mingle will bring new dangers. Will she outwit the odds again? Or is her time running out? Only the game knows. Her fate has already been decided. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if we hit 15 likes, I'll get to working on a part 2 right away, because this game is far from over.
You will?
Sheesh. That's a wrap. Sheesh.
Yeah.